Welcome to my corner of the internet. Welcome all ladyboys, all gentlewomen. This is the subject for today. I basically built my SaaS to, actually, I just checked. I'm amazed to see this. Look at this. $15,600 income in the last 30 days. I was going to basically start this video saying, well, technically I will hit 10K a month, but yeah, I made 15 grand in the last 30 days. That is mind-blowing. I didn't even realize that. So, in this video, we're going to cover some of the stuff that I really wondered about when I was, getting started on this journey. Like, what's it actually like? What does it feel like to hit 10 grand a month? How do you get there? Basically, what did I do? And then we'll have a lightning round with some random kind of questions. And if you have any other questions, please leave a comment. I'll make a part 2 because, look, I think building a SaaS is probably the most desirable thing that everyone wants to do. And yeah, I mean, it's fun to talk about. Anyways, let's get started. What does my let's get started with this. Number 1, who am I? If you don't know me from my channel, I dropped out of college. Let's see, it was like 2022, 3 years ago roughly. And ever since then, I started a car YouTube channel. I started a marketing agency, and now I've started this SaaS amid like a lot of other dabbling in other shit. And that was the loudest firework I've ever heard. Anyways, what does my product actually do? I'm glad you asked. This is the website. Jesus. Apologies, headphone users, if you can even hear that. Okay, so this is my website. It's streamline.so. And basically what it is it's built for a popular CRM that I used when I was running my agency. I'm going to have to pause this video. This is getting annoying. And so basically what it does is it is a analytics tool for this CRM. So I used to run an agency on Go High Level, and I kind of talk about like some of the main problems that you face when you run an agency. This was originally built because I ran a marketing agency, and I realized like, God, this is such a pain in the ass, this thing that I'll talk about in a second. And I think I could probably fix this with like different solutions, right? There's probably things I could do to actually solve this problem. And so what we have here is just some of the kind of generic problems that people face that use high level and don't like the reporting. So first of all, you get no visibility into sales performance. There's like the reporting is like scattered and you can't really get what you want. And because of all that, you can't prove what's working. You don't have analytics into your data, which, by the way, if you're lost right now, if you're watching this video like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like analytics, B2B, blah, blah, blah. You got to get into it. Dude, B2B SaaS, chef's kiss. I'm going to be that guy on LinkedIn. Here's what I learned about B2B SaaS. It's just so much easier than consumer SaaS, which is a whole other ballgame, okay? So if you're kind of like not on the, not totally sold on B2B SaaS, I would try to change your mindset. If you really want to build a SaaS, B2B is the way to go. Moving on. So basically, this is kind of an outline of some of the features. This is, by the way, this is not what my website looked like at first. It was like, I didn't even have a website for the start, and then I kind of just like, basically like, had a really shitty one for a while, and then I finally built this decent one. And I'm actually going to add to the lightning round how did I get my first customers? Okay. So then there's some other features here, which we'll probably go through the product a little bit, and then what the primary use case is. And so in this case, we have 4 different use cases. Like I said, it started out with focusing on marketing agencies, but now it's kind of helpful for sales managers or sales reps or marketing managers as well. And these are kind of some screenshots of the product of what it does for those types of people. Then we have some testimonials, blah, 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 book a call, etc. And so hopefully that gives you a decent idea of what my product actually does. Actually, I can just show you. So this is the dashboard of my product, and basically what we have here is a bunch of data. We can see like a bunch of CRM data, and then we have this pipeline view. We have some sales performance breakdown along a bunch of other stats, and then we have the contacts view, which this is kind of the meat and potatoes of this product. we can see for each contact what's their status. The AI kind of looks at their pipeline to determine where they should be, or looks at the conversation of the contact, and then it determines like a grade, gives a sales grade, and this basically allows you to track your funnel better. Because my biggest gripe with kind of the way reporting tools work right now is, if you've ever heard of like Hyros, Google Analytics, a lot of these tools, they give you kind of like the start and then the end. Okay, so you might get like where the lead came from, their attribution, what ad did they see or what link did they click. And then finally at the end, you get like, did they close, right? So how many closes came from this one source? And then maybe in the middle, you get like how many appointments booked, how many actually like submitted a lead form, something like that. But you don't really get any insights into why that stuff happens. Like if I'm wondering, okay, why is our booking rate so low? Like we're trying to book appointments for these leads. Why is that not happening? I was basically like, okay, we could use AI to look at the conversation because we have that data in the CRM. We could use AI to look at that and actually like figure out where we're kind of going wrong. So when I look at my contact quality breakdown, I can see, okay, we're pretty strong in like most of them are high level users, but then like some of them are not engaged and a lot of them are like not really agency owners and they're not like, maybe don't have the highest budget. So we can kind of see all these things at a glance and really get a good idea of like why people are or are not closing in our sales process. And so this just kind of makes things way better in terms of like your actual reporting and being able to see what goes on. We also have like CRM tasks here, which it's just like, you realize there's other cool stuff you can do with AI. So I was like, oh, we could use AI to generate tasks for the CRM. So that's kind of what the product does. And so now you might be wondering, how did you get your customers? Adam, how did you get $15,000 worth of customers? Well, the crazy thing is, actually, the really crazy thing is that this is kind of my main product. This is my main thing that I've been pushing for so long. But most of this revenue is actually from, and we can go merchant is high level. We'll see that over half of this is actually from high level. So high level is actually paying me for other apps that I've developed, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if we go to docs.streamline.io, so this is my original, this is how I started this business. Like, dude, if you want the real story, I started like a call summaries app for high level, like a long time ago. It was an easy problem to solve, and it wasn't solved. I was like, oh, I could do this. I built that. I built another app. Then I finally built this version of the app, which I've stuck with for a really long time, and this has like a lot of users. And so basically what this does is it's just some simple utilities for high level, okay? So they have a marketplace on high level. This just plugs straight in. And we have things like call transcripts. We have two apps for call transcripts. We have one that's a map. This one bombed completely, like got no installs. And then we have outbound message triggers, which is just high level doesn't have a trigger. They have these automations like Zapier or N8N, whatever, but they don't have an outbound message trigger. They have inbound message, but not outbound. So I was like, oh, I'll just build an app for that because it helps. When I ran an agency again, I learned, that would help. So you might be taking away like, this guy ran an agency, so he has like this unique knowledge that no one else has, and so he's able to do that. And I would agree. Yes, you are correct. If you have run some type of business before, then you're going to kind of understand the problems of that type of business better, and you can build a product to serve them. Now, that's not to say that's the only way to do it. Like, I would say I actually started out my business kind of running, like, first I ran this car YouTube channel. You can find it on YouTube if maybe. And then I ran a marketing agency for local businesses over like 18 months or something. And the crazy part was that this marketing agency, I wasn't even good at it, right? Like I wasn't good at sales. I hated like doing customer acquisition, like cold calling. I hated like servicing my customers. I hated basically everything about it. And literally I joined and like I remember I wrote on this piece of paper. I was sitting in this room. By the way, I still live at home. I make $15,000 a month, motherfucker. I still live at home, okay, with my mom, with my mommy. Um, Anyways, I remember writing on this piece of paper, like, I will hit 10 grand a month this month. I'm fucking dedicated. You know what I hit that month? My head against a wall. Metaphorically. Yeah, it was just really hard and I sucked at it. And so it kind of like gave me this like mindset, like, wow, am I like just fucking retarded? Basically, right? But just basically like, wow, am I like a failure? It was a really weird kind of moment in my life, I think. And so, yeah, anyways, like I struggled with this thing for so long. And so it wasn't like, I wasn't just good at business or making money like off the bat. Like I sucked. I don't have any stories of like, oh, when I was a kid, I was out selling fucking water bottles for $2 a pop. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. You're not that guy. Anyways, so the reason I bring this up is you can start out just serving local businesses. Yeah, it sucks more a lot of the time. I really like my clients. They're online business people. A lot of them live in Bali, which is badass. But you can start out serving local businesses, like, I don't know, building websites or chatbots or doing something in high level. That's pretty popular nowadays. And just kind of get your feet wet with like figuring out, okay, what do businesses really value? Like I, as a business owner, as I'm working on my own product, like what do I see as problems? What do I want to build? You'll kind of figure this stuff out as you go. So I would say that's like a really big takeaway is you can kind of just like, you just kind of gotta, if you don't have any ideas right now, I would just like start basic. Just watch one of those fucking how to make money online videos and just do one of those things. And it's gonna suck balls, but eventually it'll take a few years, quite honestly. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I built these utility apps, and these are discoverable on the marketplace, but primarily I got most of the users through YouTube. And actually, it's funny because if you Google go high level call transcripts, I basically have a monopoly on this search term. All right, what is this guy doing in my trap? What is this guy doing? I used to have a monopoly. Now I have one video up here, two videos up here. But this was really how I got most of my traffic, was basically like creating YouTube videos just about my product. Right. And so you can see like these videos are, if you watch them, they're so basic. It's literally like, the way I did it was I showed one way to do it for yourself, which I made it look like a pain in the ass intentionally, and because I was doing it in code and no one understands code. So they go, wow, this must be so hard. I go, yeah, bitch, buy my app. Just kidding. If you're a customer, I'm just kidding. All right. And so, yeah, I would just show like a really hard way to do it. And then at the end, I would say, buy my fucking app. This is way easier. And yeah, it worked. I mean, this one got 900 views, but oh shit, this is still the old website link. I should probably change that. But anyways, that's how I get most of my customers for these apps, just organic kind of discovery. And that really worked well. So yeah, YouTube, highly underrated acquisition engine. That's actually on this YouTube channel. Hopefully you're not a customer who's looking at my apps and watching this video and thinking, this guy is a fucking asshole. No, I'm just kidding. All right. And then, yeah, so those are my kind of initial apps. And through these apps, I actually met a lot of people. It was really interesting, like building these apps. I met all of the connections, or a lot of the connections that would end up buying my apps down the line. And so what happened was I built these apps, and then I had this idea for a full-on AI analytics app. I was like, great, with these apps I can charge, most of these apps are around 30 to 50 bucks a month, up to like 200 bucks a month. With this one, I was like, all right, I'm going to charge 500 bucks a month. I'm going to only sell to like people doing like 20, 30, 50 grand a month. And I'm just going to fucking make bank. Still hasn't happened yet with this app. Like I said, like it makes like 7 grand a month. But it's still only the same size as these apps. And these apps are probably like a year old. This one's like probably 4 or 5 months old. So the way I did it was I basically wrote out like a spec sheet. I was like, all right, here's what I want this app to do. Here's kind of the goals for what it should do. And then I put down proof that it was possible, okay? Because I had like workflows built out from these apps that would do things like transcribing calls, grading calls, kind of doing a bunch of stuff. And I came to a lot of the people. I basically sent out like a text message to all my customers. And I said, hey, if you want to basically get like, if you want to get really good analytics for your agency, then let's have a call and I'm going to show you this app that I'm building. I was in a unique position as well because there wasn't really anything like this out there that was very good, at least. And so I could actually get people interested just by kind of pitching the idea. And so when that happened, I got on a few demo calls. I was able to convince, I think, 3 people to give me their money. And that was before I had anything. Literally all I had was like an idea, right? And so I just talked to these people. To be fair, I had a decent amount of trust with these people. And if you're a better salesperson, you could probably close more than that. But I collected about $500 total, basically on the promise that, hey, I'm going to deliver this product. If I don't, I'll give you your money back. But I'm going to deliver this, and when it's ready, you'll get a discount on the product. And so that's what happens now. Those people who put a deposit down get 50% off the product from the starting price, which was actually less than $500 a month. It was $300 a month. So they only pay $150 a month, while new clients are paying $500 a month. So I think it's a good deal for them. But they were able to kind of help me validate the idea and help me understand, like, okay, yes, I can get people to pay for this. I just need to build it. That's the biggest problem that I have right now, rather than making sure it's valid. So I think that was a good approach, was taking money. One thing you'll find, this is going to be the longest video ever, I'm sorry. One thing you'll find when you're building your product is you kind of get like demotivated. Talking to customers, getting excited about new ideas and like how it's going to help people is what makes business fun and fulfilling, and what makes building the app enjoyable. And if you kind of get into it, like become devoid of these conversations, you lose your motivation. And so it stops being fun and it just feels like a grind. It just feels like work. And so what I highly recommend is kind of keeping close in touch with your customers and trying to have conversations early on, because validation isn't just like, it's not just like, I'm going to validate my business idea and then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm purely logical, blah, blah, blah. No, it's like, I would almost say the emotional benefit is more than actually like the logical kind of, benefit of validating an idea. Because if you get that emotion where you're like, fuck yeah, like people want this. Like I remember I spent like a month or two solid, just like 12 hours a day, just fucking coding straight, because I was like, I felt good about it, And so I would say that's a really, really important factor, is that you have to feel good about what you're building. And you do that by talking to customers, by making sales, especially early on. Right. So I got those initial customers, I signed them up, and then I started to get some referrals. I had a referral program where they would get recurring revenue for every customer they referred. And so I had that running. And then I also had, I ran some Facebook ads, though those didn't really crush it. YouTube was a pretty good channel because I made videos about it. But I would say, it's kind of hard to, like, I can't really give you a one-size-fits-all kind of prescription. I think YouTube can work. It's a real grind, especially if you're not kind of already doing YouTube day-to-day like I am. And so I would say Facebook ads is the holy grail. Paid ads are the holy grail of customer acquisition. I'm still building out the product to a point where I can get a negative net churn. So net churn, so there's gross churn. I call it, I don't know what the actual terms are, but I call it gross churn, which is the total percentage of, the total number of users that have left at the end of the month divided by the total number of users you had at the beginning of the month. Something like that. So if you have like 10 users at the start and then 2 leave, you would have a 20% churn rate. Net churn is that total number of customers who churned minus the total numbers of customers who were referred to you. So if you had 10 customers at the start of the month and then you got 2 referrals and then you also had 2 churn, then you would still have a net negative or net 0 churn because you had 2 referrals. So that's kind of the metric I'm looking for. I dropped my pen. I had to pick it up. This is like my, you know how babies have a binky? This is my binky. I just have to play with this. Regardless. So I'm trying to get to a point where I have negative churn. a lot of times there's this like thing where you go like, what's the one thing I could do to solve all of my problems that would make everything easier? And people want to say like, oh, I could just make my product better. Then I'd get more referrals. My cost of acquiring a customer would be lower. People would stay longer. But that sounds too easy. And the answer really is no. That is the hack. If you want to win with your business, you have to have a really, really good product. And so that's kind of my goal right now. I'm working on a killer feature, I think, that's going to allow me to acquire much better, get more referrals, and finally run paid ads. So when you start running paid ads, I'm charging $500 a month with a paid trial. So I take money up front, and then if within 30 days they aren't happy, I refund them the whole 500 plus whatever AI usage they spent. And then it's like a trial, but I still collect cash up front, which means when I'm running paid ads, I can actually like acquire people for, if I can acquire a customer basically for $250, and I make $500 right away from them, that basically means like, okay, I'm literally making, like I'm doubling my money on every customer I acquire. So that means if I only have 10 grand in the bank right now, I can spend $10,000 on ads this month. And the next month I'll have 20 grand because I doubled my money. And now I can spend 20 grand. And so literally it's like a hockey stick once you hit paid ads that work. So I would say that's the holy grail of customer acquisition, depending on kind of your goals. Like my goal is 100 grand a month for this business, but your mileage may vary. YouTube is a fine acquisition channel. Like I could probably make a bunch of YouTube videos, go live in Bali for a while, and it would be fine, right? But anyways, so yeah, that's kind of how I've acquired customers. What is my actual... It's funny you ask what my actual profit margin is. It is quite funny that you ask. So I'm going to show you my P&L for these 3 last months that I've been tracking it. I think I probably started the actual analytics app in April. Yeah, so I probably started the actual analytics app in April, and that's when I started kind of tracking these numbers. And here we are in July, but I only have data up to June, right? Because I collect data at the end of the month. I'm still doing this manually, but yeah. Basically, here's the numbers. So April, I acquired 9 customers. Wow. May, 11 customers. June, 6 customers. Boo. This month, I think it's only been 1. I went on a trip at the end of June. And yeah, I've been focusing on the product. So, anyways, so here we have some of my churn numbers. Yeah, and then this is analytics. So this is my kind of main app that I was showing you, the whole website. These are the utilities. So the little kind of like basic apps that I build for high level. And then the total net revenue between both of those. So net analytics is like Stripe gross, or Stripe net, because Stripe takes a fee. So the gross is probably something like 6,000. Then we have net revenue growth month over month. My goal here is actually 20%. After I get the product kind of like I'm feeling good, I want to hit 20% month over month growth, which should be doable for about, 6 months, maybe a year. Because if you can hit 20% net month over month revenue growth, I could literally be at 100 grand a month in 12 months, roughly. So then here's how it kind of breaks down with expenses. So we have total expenses for June. You can see we shot up in whatever this month is. May, I paid $1,900 in expenses. And in June, it was $5,600. $600. But that still leaves me somehow. Oh, I see. Okay. Here we go. Satellite radio. Yeah, I'm just going to show you the actual numbers here, because apparently that's not on the analytics tab right here. But we have basically a few columns for the expenses. So these are our expenses. So we have advertising costs. So you can see in June, I spent $1,600 of that was on like Facebook ads, some YouTube ads, but I don't know, YouTube ads. I pay for YouTube Premium, bro. What you know about it? Anyways, advertising cost, and then marketing cost. This is kind of like general stuff, like just running like a basic website. Like this website is built on super.so, so it's actually a Notion page, which I really like this. Like, it's just so easy to build on. So yeah, this is like super website, dub.co for like link tracking, some basic marketing stuff. And then development costs. This is mostly Cursor. This is actually all Cursor, I believe. Maybe ngrok too. I spent $1,200 on Cursor last month because I was using fucking Claude 4 Opus, which that shit is literally insane. Like, if you have a well-defined task, you just give it to Opus and it just does it. No errors, just works. And it's not even like no errors. It's actually correct the first time. It is mind-boggling how good Opus is. So I spent $1,200 on Opus last month. And then you can see the infrastructure costs was $1,600 again. So basically almost as much as the actual advertising. But that gives us and then we have AI usage. So my app relies heavily on AI. I actually use Open Router. And so I spent $929 on Open Router last month. And these total up to a total cost of goods sold. Basically like how much it costs to fulfill if I stopped working on the product or trying to get customers. And that is $2,500. And so with marketing spend, that's ads plus just general marketing. That gives us our total expenses of $5,600, a gross profit margin, which is total revenue minus cost of goods sold of $6,000, or a gross profit, I suppose, of $6,600, which is a 72% profit margin, gross profit. And then the net profit, which includes like ads, development cost. You wouldn't really look at this if you're selling the business, but that's 39% and $3,600 in net profit. I don't know what it'll be this month. But yeah, actually in this page, we're tracking last 30 days. So this is actually not just July, right? But yeah, so you can see that for May and April, look at this. We were at 89% gross profit margin, 84% gross profit margin. Then it went down to 72%. And the net profit margin also dropped a huge amount. So I suppose this is kind of the cost of, growing a business and trying to work on a product. You're going to spend a lot on AI for development, and you're going to spend a lot on ads or probably a YouTube agency to edit your YouTube videos for you, because you got to work on that product. You can't sit around editing YouTube videos. That's why I use Tela, motherfucker. Use my referral link down below. Anyways. Yeah, that's my profit margin. So it's not the best. I will show you a little bit more about my vendors and kind of what they cost individually in a minute. Actual profit margin. I kind of already answered this. I mean, it takes I've been doing this shit for like 3 years. I dropped out of college. I did YouTube first, the agency, blah, blah, blah. Let's do what tools do I use? And then we could talk about vibe coding, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about the psychology around what I do, because, bro, I'm depressed. No, just kidding. Okay. The tools that I use are right here, conveniently. So we have trigger.dev. Trigger is a profound development in the SaaS space. I mean, Trigger is an amazing product. If you don't know about it, I have a bunch of videos actually on Trigger, or maybe a few actually. It's basically just a backend for your app. You've heard of like BaaS, which is like backend as a service, Supabase, Firebase, etc. With trigger.dev, this is literally only workflow in the backend, but it's really nice because on Vercel, if you're not familiar with like coding and stuff, there's two types of servers, okay? There's stateful and stateless. I'm kind of oversimplifying, but for stateful servers, they kind of stick around and they just run, right? If you think of N8N, that's a stateful server, okay? So with N8N, if you self-host N8N and you make a request to a workflow on your instance, it doesn't have to spin up a new instance of N8N. It's always running, and it just waits for a request, then it runs it, and so you could overload it if you hit it with too many requests, and I don't know what happens. Probably your computer catches on fire, and you get a bill for burning down the Virginia data center. Something like that would probably happen. And then we also have stateless servers, which are kind of like Vercel edge functions or AWS Lambda functions, Cloudflare workers. These are like in a data center, it's just like a piece of a CPU. It just spins up, runs your task, and it shuts down. Okay. And so basically with Trigger, you overcome the problem of these stateless kind of environments and these stateful environments, because stateful environments can get overwhelmed. You know, they can like kind of, you have to scale them. You have to worry about like load balancing and shit. Stateless servers like on Vercel or AWS, they have a timeout typically, and you know, that's probably the biggest problem, honestly. They have a timeout. With Trigger, there's no timeout. Okay, you can set a timeout. Now you actually have to set a timeout. But I have tasks that run literally for like an hour. Like it triggers like lots of subtasks, but it can run for so long. It's just a very, very convenient way to build your backend. And of course you kind of pay for that convenience, but honestly, it's not that bad. I will potentially switch to like Cloudflare workers and workflows, but that's TBD. Trigger, I would say, is a very solid place to build your app. If you're building something more complicated than just like a CRUD interface, like especially if you're using AI on the backend to process stuff asynchronously, not while the user's watching, even maybe while the user's watching, you probably want to use something like Trigger. I should get an affiliate link. But yeah, so that's Trigger. Then we also have Neon, which is my database provider. It's a database. I like it because Supabase is bloated. It has auth, which I wouldn't use. I would find my own auth provider. It also has like real time. I don't know. It has like 8 different features that I don't really give a shit about. And so I like Neon. It's meant to auto scale. It's meant for the serverless revolution. And it's cool. Okay? It's cool. It works. It's fine. Then we have QStash. This is convenient. I use it for basically like queuing messages. It lets you pass messages between different routes in your app without waiting for the response, which is convenient a lot of the times. I recommend. And then I also use it for Redis for kind of like, you can see event deduplications and a rate limiter. Because I catch events coming out of high level, I have to handle those, and there's a lot of kind of infrastructure, especially here, involved with that. Then we have Vercel. Vercel! I love Vercel. It is the perfect product. It's actually the perfect product. I've never had a single issue. I shit you not. I've never had a single weird bug. Nothing has ever gone wrong with Vercel for me. That is the most astounding thing ever. I had this issue a while ago. I made a video about it, like scaling a SaaS is hard. And every part of my infrastructure just completely shit the bed. It was like totally fucked up. And Vercel just like fucking chugged through it, dude. It was insane. It just rocked it. So, yeah, host on Vercel. It's just so easy. Use Next.js, use ShadCN, use Tailwind. Don't be an idiot. Don't try to use Felt for your business. You're just going to hit a hard wall. Just use Next.js. Just make it easy on yourself. You're here for money, not fucking runes, bro. Anyways, but yeah, I use Vercel. I also just recently started using their blob store for some like testimonials on my website. I don't know. But it's just convenient they have that. Then we also have Go High Level, of course, and my Stripe. Obviously, I use Stripe. And you can see in the last 4 weeks, I've only collected $6,800 on Stripe. And most of this is not even profit. Like, this app is quite unprofitable, which is really funny. But yeah, Stripe is a great product. I use PostHog, not that much, if I'm honest. And then dub.co is good for tracking link clicks, especially because I use content. I basically can create a link here. You can also run like referral programs and stuff through it. So again, click my Tela referral link below. And that's how I'm recording this video, by the way. And they use Dub for conversion tracking. They have conversion tracking. So if you want to set that up and be able to track conversions, I use I think PostHog. Or I use High Level actually, but if you wanted to track conversions for your SaaS for like traffic that's inbound, I would probably use Dub. I think it's the most modern of these link tracking tools. It's quite expensive. I pay like $35 a month. I'm like, jeez, I could have built my own version of this, but I was like, I don't feel like it. I don't need another fucking table in my database just to like do some random shit. So anyways, that's most of my stack. Then we have the crown jewel, the chef's mwah, 5-tran, or as I call it, fuckery 5-tran. Dude, 5-tran has caused me the most problems of basically any app I could ever think of. I mean, like, it's just kind of insane how many problems I have had from this app. So basically what we have is a monthly spend, and what we can see here is that spend so far this month, which I believe resets on the 1st, is $350. Now, if we take a look carefully down here, this is the date of today. It is the 11th. It means we're roughly 1/3 of the way through the month. That means this is going to be $1,000. $1,000. This just pulls in ad spend data from Facebook. It is so infuriating how much it costs. I mean, you can see here's my ad account, right? It's paused right now. It works decently, although I have had a million problems with them. And right now the cost is the biggest problem. And it still shits out all the time. It's like the most fucking frustrating thing. But I had to get ad spend data in here, and building out your own Facebook integration is just such a pain in the ass. So, would I go back and build my own integration? No. Sometimes you just have to have really shitty piece of infrastructure to make it work. Regardless, that's 5-tran. That's probably my biggest piece of infrastructure. Then we can actually look at my trigger usage. So I've spent $132 month to date. This is actually not too bad. Looks like we'll be spending around like $400 or $500 in just compute. Literally, we have 8 days, 9 hours of compute for this one task. That alone has cost $25. That's actually not that bad. So, yeah, I mean, Trigger's not that bad because I do a shit ton of work on Trigger. So I understand that it's, going to cost money. And then for Vercel, I am shocked that Vercel is scaling the way it is. Because look at this. You always hear like Vercel, bro, serverless, Vercel, you're gonna be fucking broke. Look at this. 216. Okay, this is last 12 hours. Let's go to the last 30 days. We've had 8.2 million webhook events. Basically all of these coming out of high level. 8.2 million. 97 gigabytes of data coming over the wire. And yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. But if we go to my usage, I think I paid $60 last month. You can see for the current billing cycle, I guess it ends in 10 days. We're at my pro plan plus, I guess, $30 in spend. So like $50. So we'll probably hit $60, $70. Insane. To handle 8 million events. It's mind-boggling that this actually scales. Like I'm running basically like a queue. Like it should be a queue. It should be a much more sophisticated system. But this works for Vercel. And yeah, don't let anyone tell you Vercel can't scale, all right? You have your own, just tell them to politely shut the fuck up. Just kidding. But yeah, and then you can see with QStash, this is like, I don't know, $25, $30 a month. And PostHog is free. PostHog's awesome. But yeah, those are really my expenses. 5-tran, again, fuckery 5-tran is by far and away the most expensive part of my infrastructure. If I didn't have 5-tran, yeah, I mean, if I didn't have 5-tran, this would be like $4,600. I would have profited an extra $1,000. It's kind of ridiculous how much it costs. But anyways, I diverge. I digress. There we go. Yeah, and then I'll do this one last. Oh shit. Did I vibe code it? No. At the start, I built everything from scratch, every table in the database, every row, every line of code. Basically, I might have used autocomplete for some of it, but you really, especially when starting out the app, like one thing I was realizing today as I'm building a new system is that you really cannot underestimate the importance of how you structure your system at the start. And I'm sorry if you're just starting out, because now you're like, fuck, dude, I gotta like make it perfect. Yeah. No, I mean, it is important. Like how you structure your system at the start, you kind of build it, you kind of structure it the way that makes sense. And you go, yeah, this will probably scale. And then down the line, you go, holy shit, like I'm literally making all these, like, kind of think about all these problems that are spawning from this one decision I made. And it's just not apparent at the time that you determine it. So every time you go to create like a new kind of set of tables in your database to handle some type of relationship or row or something, you want to be pretty sure about it. And so now I vibe code a fair amount. Like if I have a problem that I can't be bothered to get to the bottom of myself, Claude 4 Opus is an amazing model. It's very expensive. You know, Claude 4 Sonnet might be kind of a little bit better, but I would probably just go, hey, this isn't working. Can you get to the bottom of it? And it'll go through, it'll like look at all the associated files, try to find the issue. And if it fixes it, if it can see the issue, it'll fix it right away. When I'm adding features, I'll typically kind of determine how they should work first myself. But yeah, I think like 6 months ago, vibe coding was not an option. Vibe coding was like, this is going to be a absolute shit show. Nowadays, it's not that bad. And that actually brings me on to my last point. What is it like psychologically? All right? Look, I'm not an English. I dropped out of college, right? Don't expect me to know how to speak English. Dude, one of the scariest things about SaaS is, well, okay, I've heard before a good indicator. This is the Lean Product Playbook, which is a pretty good book. I think it's a little advanced for a solo founder, but it's interesting. So he basically says one of the best signs for seeing if your product will have product market fit is if customers that you talk to, prospects, I suppose, that you talk to already have something kind of hacked together to try to solve the same problem. And so I actually had this kind of validation where a lot of the people I talked to, they either had like a custom dashboard or they were trying to build something out, or, they wanted something like it. That's not really that strong of an indicator, I guess. But they had like, a lot of them had kind of hacked out something similar to it. And so my product is just something where I'm spending, 12 hours a day, every day working on it. That being said, my product isn't perfect for all of my customers, right? It kind of fits their needs, for a lot of people, but there's things that I'm sure all of my customers, if you ask them, they would kind of give different answers to what they would want to change. And so the interesting thing is, I think like, how long is it until one of my customers can just go, I kind of want this app, but without all this other stuff that I don't use, and with this other stuff that I will use. And then they type that into a prompt and they say go. And Claude 4 Opus or Claude 5 fucking Opus goes and builds it for them. And then they come back in 3 hours, they have a $250 bill, which is like half of what I charged per month. And it says, all right, you're good to go. Like I already deployed it for you and I loaded your data in because I'm a brilliant AI, and you don't have to pay that subscription anymore. That is probably my biggest fear nowadays. I don't really worry about competition. I think competition is, you kind of just forget about it. Like when you're actually focusing, I've heard this, I think this was Hormozy, like winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners. That is kind of true. Like when you're actually like focusing on trying to win, you don't think about your competitors. Like you're just like focusing on building a better product and getting customers. Whereas if you are focusing on your competition, you're cooked. You got to stop, basically. I've done that before, right? You're not cooked, but you got to stop. Yeah. So anyways, I think that's probably my biggest fear. And I think, I don't know how it's going to play out, right? Like as a SaaS founder, it's scary to think that basically I could go through all this trouble of building this app and then someone else could replace it. Now, there is like, if someone spends $250 to develop an app and have an AI do it, there's probably going to be things that are broken that they can't specify how to fix it. And also there's so much time and thought from me. I just spent 6 hours planning this new feature that I'm working on. 6 hours not writing any code, not literally just thinking, just like, actually the way I think is I speak out loud into Whisperflow, which is this app I use that transcribes everything you speak. I'm retarded. But yeah, there you go. And so I speak into ChatGPT and then I get it to kind of like bounce off, and then I like kind of, it's mostly me doing the thinking, but ChatGPT it's just like someone to talk at and kind of refine your thoughts. Anyways, yeah, like there's so much kind of design and thought that goes into like how to actually build the product and how to structure things, that I think probably for a while you're protected, because the nature of a business is that I've put more time into thinking about solving this problem than you have. You would never go out and try to build your own iPhone because Apple has put so much time. They have so many patents around building iPhones and the infrastructure to actually create them. It makes no sense for you to go build your own. And so that's been the nature of business. That is the nature of business. And I think it could remain the same with software. That's what I'm hoping, is that, I just get better at an exponential rate because of AI. And so, the product just gets better. And if someone wants to try to like build their own version, then, they're going to have to like spend damn near as the same amount of like time and money as I have, which just in development cost, in brain power, probably, AI/brain power is probably like 20 grand, 25 grand, something like that. And that's not even like kind of putting the product together. Like, to charge for what I've done so far, 50 grand, dude. 100 grand, dude. Yeah, that would be fucking hell to do it as a one-off job. Anyways, yeah, I think the risks of that are relatively low right now, but it is kind of something I worry about. And I don't know, dude, I think like I've heard, dude, I used to work for a startup for like a month or two. And I remember the founder saying, yeah, I still think it can like blow up and go to zero at any time. And I'm sitting there like from the outside, I'm like, you have a great business. Like, this looks like it's really taking off, But I think in a founder's mind, there's always this thought. Like, you have 10 reasons in your mind why things could go completely south at any second. And so I think that's just a natural part of being a founder. And it's best just to ignore it, at least from what I've found. Your mileage may vary. Maybe it's best to dwell on it and let it consume you. In my opinion, I just kind of try to ignore it, but it is hard. I talked earlier about like staying in touch with your customers to stay motivated. That's really important. And yeah, I would say, I don't know, dude, overall, like, it doesn't really stay fun, Sometimes it's fun to code, but I would say in general, you kind of have to drag yourself to your computer and be like, all right, let me lock in. So yeah, it gets hard, and I don't know. Yeah, it seems like I'm gonna start crying or something, but I don't know. I just thought this was important to talk about, kind of the psychological side, because you don't really hear about this. Like, it is a psychological game. Life is completely just nothing out here is real. Your brain is just kind of interpreting it, and so that's the entire game. It's like, how can you kind of interpret things to win, right? And ideally, if you could just put on an Apple Vision Pro and already have your dream life where you have a SaaS, but you're actually just laying in like a vat of like goo, just having your brain plugged in like the Matrix. I mean, is it any different? Well, that's not achievable right now, so you'll have to suffice with building your own SaaS to 15 grand a month. Yeah, that's the video. I'm going to cut it short here as a joke because it's 50 minutes long. Holy shit. Hope you enjoyed this kind of like transparent, just like, vibe chat is what I'll call it. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I will think about making a part 2, so leave some questions down below, and I can either answer them there or make another video. Bye. Oh, click my link in the description.